Am I the a-hole for making my stepmother cry in front of her family? My 16-male mom died when I was 5. When I was 8, my dad remarried. He started dating my stepmother a year before, and he talked to me and my sister, 24 female, about it before. He told us we didn't need to see our stepmother as a new mom, or even a mom figure if we weren't comfortable. But if we could be respectful and give her a chance to be something. He told us if there was anything off, he wanted to hear that too. We gave our blessing while also saying we didn't want her to be new mom. And Dad said he supported that and would make it clear to her. They got married and things seemed okay. Dad never called her our mom or anything, and she didn't really. There were times she called us her kids, and she'd try to do some of the mom things like Mother's Day activities, or sometimes we'd have stuff a parent-kid sports day, and she'd want to go instead of Dad since most kids have their mom. But Dad would gently remind her that she wasn't mom. My sister and stepmother had a really rocky and rough relationship, and they don't speak much. My sister tolerated her for Dad after the wedding more than anything. But at first, she was okay with her. She just hated that she didn't accept the no-mom role. We spent after school with our grandparents until Dad got home. He'd finish work before my stepmother, so she wasn't doing all the mom stuff. She did offer to quit her job, to do it, or to go to part-time or something. But Dad and her talked, and he asked if she'd be okay doing all that, and not getting recognized equally. So she kept her job, but still tried to fill the mom role sometimes. My dad and her started trying for kids, and they ended up going to fertility doctors and stuff. Even when that was happening, she still tried to fill that role for me. But I still don't want her to be mom. The problem now is, she can't have bio kids. Nothing can help. Dad has been comforting her about it. But now she has decided that I could let her adopt me, and we could work on changing our relationship. I said no when asked and told Dad. He decided they needed couples therapy. We were at her family's house Sunday afternoon, and they were talking to her about the infertility stuff. And she had mentioned she still has one kid, aka me, and that we were maybe making that official, and even if we didn't, she was still mom to someone. It annoyed me, and my dad wasn't in the room at the time. And I said no. Her family all looked at me, and I said she isn't my mom, and we'll never make it official because it's not true. She started crying hard, and my dad heard and came in, and he brought us home. They got into a big fight that night, and my dad told me I did nothing wrong, but she said I humiliated her in front of her family. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I can't imagine how crushing her pain must be, and I feel for her, but that doesn't mean she gets to break your boundaries and use you as a band-aid. You're not a consolation prize. Her behavior was absolutely atrocious. My dad told me I did nothing wrong. I have to say, it's so refreshing to see a parent encourage and support healthy boundaries when push comes to shove. OP, I assure you, you didn't do anything wrong. It may not seem like it now, but you're doing her a favor by not encouraging a false hope of adoption. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself, especially given the fact that you were surrounded by her family. Oh yeah, my dad is great. I don't ever feel like I can't tell him this stuff. Sometimes it's easier to go to him with it than speak to my stepmother, at least with some stuff. It's understandable you have an easier time speaking with him. When it comes to issues with stepmom, you should absolutely go to him. It's his job to facilitate a relationship between you two. Sometimes that means he has to create space between you two. Not the a-hole. Let's get this straight. You're a literal child who lost your mother when you were young, but old enough to understand. You, your father, and presumably your stepsister made it clear to your stepmother that she was Dad's wife, not mom. She decided that when she and your father couldn't have kids, you could be her kid, despite it being made clear to her that wouldn't be your role in the family. Again, you told her no and your dad told her no, and the issue of therapy was raised. Then, having been told no yet again, she decides to call you her child in front of others and announce how you might make it official. And when you once again say no, she turns on the waterworks and plays the victim. Your stepmother is a selfish narcissist with zero respect for your boundaries. On another note, there's nothing to say her and your dad can't adopt. Just because it's not you doesn't mean it can't be done, and if they could afford however many rounds of fertility treatments, I'm sure they could at least explore an adoption. They actually started therapy already. It went that far, and she still brought it up in front of her family like it was a possibility or like it was an almost official thing. I think she expected a pity agreement, but I don't know why that would feel any better to her. She may also have been trying to put a stop to their expressions of pity. I feel for her, but she can't force a relationship you don't have and don't want. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister, who can't have kids, that she does not get to be a part of naming mine and my wife's babies? My older sister, 34 female, was born without the reproductive organs required to have a biological child. Because of her condition, she also has some other health problems which disqualify her from adopting due to the uncertainty around her quality and length of life. She was aware for most of her life that she couldn't have biological children. That was discovered when she was still very young, but the rest came throughout her 20s. She had dreams of motherhood and had lists of baby names she wanted to use. But she will never be able to use them on children that are hers. What I, 28 male, did not know at the time was she had saved her baby names and was hoping she would get to name or help name my future children. My wife, 27 female, and I are expecting our first child. We haven't announced the sex, but my sister thinks we're having a girl and shared her girl names with us. We thanked her and said we, wife and I, would discuss what the name would be at some point. My sister looked upset by the response, and she then shared her boy names, thinking she got it wrong. We gave her the same response. My mom suggested a couple of months ago that it would be generous and kind to let my sister have some input. I told her we felt it was better if we named our child ourselves. My wife and I did look at the list, just to see if we liked any of the names. We did not. Names on the lists included Elizabeth, Hannah, Rosemary, and Francesca for girls, and James, Edward, Patrick, and Michael for boys. Those just aren't to our preference. None of them were, and there were more names. My sister mentioned the names again recently, and she said we should pick Elizabeth for a girl and Michael for a boy. She said that's what she'd do if she were having the baby. I told her we hadn't made our mind up yet, but we're still in discussions about it. She offered to help, and I said no thanks. My wife and I want to figure it out between us. My sister said she wants to be a part of naming all our babies, that she would love to share all her endless thoughts on names that she'll never get to put into her own kid. I told her I understood she wanted that, but my wife and I as parents would name our child, and she does not get to be a part of that. I told her I understood that was hurtful to her, but she does not get a say. I also asked her to please stop bringing it up. My sister told me I could let her have at least a little say in this, and I said sorry, but no. She cried to Mom, who thinks we should be more sensitive, while my dad told my sister I wasn't wrong and she needs to accept that she doesn't get to name our baby. My response has caused a divide among my parents and sister and me. It has been made clear my mom thinks I lack compassion, and my sister believes I'm hurtful to her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Congratulations on your upcoming baby, and also on setting and keeping personal boundaries. Of course your sister shouldn't be involved in your decisions about rearing your child, including its name. It's very sad about your sister's condition, but that doesn't change things. Your mom is being weird though, getting involved and trying to guilt you. Your dad is right, and you are right for setting a reasonable boundary together with your wife and sticking to it together. I think my mom is putting some of her own heartache in the mix. She struggled with secondary infertility between having my sister and having me. I think it can make her more sensitive to what my sister is going through and make her more willing to think she should be accommodated. But it really isn't helping anyone. I wouldn't give them this ground. It may let your sister think she has leeway to influence more of your parenting decisions, to live vicariously through you, or even start seeing your child as hers. I'd also be careful with your mother in this, and how she might be enabling or willing to enable your sister. Not the a-hole. It's sad when someone's childbearing preferences in any direction aren't possible or aren't allowed. Adding in not being able to adopt makes that sadness even greater. But that doesn't mean she gets to take over parts of other people's experience of having children. You tried to be diplomatic, but her insistence has forced this conflict. Maybe you could have found gentler, kinder words, but I don't think any way you could have worded it would have prevented the hurt. I'm not sure there was a way I could have worded it either. I have seen some suggestions online in the past that seemed overly harsh, sarcastic, or like they were giving hope for it to happen in the future. I didn't want to do any of those things. Not the a-hole. Your sister needs therapy to come to terms with the shitty hand life served her.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos.